Well, have you ever wondered what it would be like to feel like you need to cheer after an amazing bowel movement? Right?
Yeah.
Have you ever felt the desire?
Sure.
Like, wow, that was absolutely incredible. I think I just emptied my entire large and small intestine.
Clean and clear.
Clean and clear.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about having amazing, clear digestive function.
Mm-hmm.
And
when
also,
that's clear, then your mind is clear.
there you go. It's a gut brain, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so how do we do this? What's a simple strategy that we can be implementing on a regular basis to make yourself want to cheer after a bowel movement?
Yeah. So this is a foundational method that's been used for decades. They're centuries probably, Castor Oil Packs. But we're going to talk about a simple way to do it, a simple way to incorporate it into your lifestyle. So it's something that's like a non-negotiable. And it's something that's going to benefit your digestive system, your nervous system, your hormones, basically everything, because it's getting rid of those toxins, that toxicity that can accumulate.
Yeah, we talk about this often, that we want to be able to at least match or overcome the daily onslaught, so to speak, of things that are in our environment that are bioaccumulating in our body, that are not serving us, that are disrupting our hormone function, to our digestive function, our energy levels, our brain function, our pain levels. And if we have a mechanism to do this on a regular basis, our body's going to be more adaptive to this environment. But so many of us are storing things in places that we just don't know.
And sometimes you don't know why you're doing it. So with this podcast, we get into the why, the mechanism of action, and all the different ways that you can use castor oil.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Hey guys, so we make a number of recommendations on our podcast. We talk to different experts in different fields of interest, and some of you are wanting to know where do we go to access all of these old podcast recommendations and whatnot. So where do people go, Sonia?
So we have our website, drsjensen.com. That's DRSJENSEN.com, and you can go to the shop section, and there you will find all the different supplements, the biohacks, the everyday things that we utilize and also suggest on this podcast.
Yeah, now there's a lot of stuff on there, so obviously you don't need everything, but often we listen to a podcast, we're like, oh geez, where was that recommendation? Maybe it was in the gut section, or maybe it was in the brain section, or whatever it may be. But on that /shop on the Dr. Jensen website, you will find, particularly in the gut section, we actually just had a great podcast with someone from Queen of Thrones. So you'll find a link to the Castor Oil Pack on that website page there. And obviously there's lots of other things there, but what were some of the key takeaways of the Queen of Thrones?
So castor oil is something that's been foundational for, like we were saying, decades or centuries, and it's a biohack, I guess you could say, but really it's this foundational method that supports your liver for detoxing all the various toxins that come into our system every single day. More than 200 before we even leave our home. Yeah,
and so you could go to your grocery store and just grab castor oil, massage it in over your liver, and think that you're doing it. But there's a bunch of criteria that you're going to want to tune into the rest of the podcast to really find out what are the core details that you need to know. And the way that these guys set it up, they've got the kit themselves, the right organic cold pressed extra virgin castor oil that you want in a proper glass bottle. All the criteria that you need is right there on that website. So if you want to get access to the castor oil pack,
so go back to drjensens.com and go to the shop and in the gut section, and remind yourself that this is like giving yourself a big hug. That was a big takeaway for me. So it's going to induce your oxytocin and help your nervous system.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Health Ignited with myself and my amazing wife, Dr. Sonia Jensen. And we're going to be talking about some fun conversations today with regards to like a really simple at-home tool that you can implement on a daily basis. So anything you want to say before we jump in?
Well, this is a topic of conversation we have often in our family, and it's regards to bowel movements and detoxification and the importance of that. So I'm excited to have this conversation to dive into this simple tool that we've been recommending for over a decade. And we were just talking before we got on the call that the fact that this tool is just so simple and so accessible that there's no reason why all of you can't use it.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is Queen of Thrones. And so we've got one of the queens here of the business. Her name is Sherri McKnight. She's a homeopathic doctor, nutritionist. And I love hearing that, you've been in practice for over 10 years. You're also the owner of award-winning health-promoting vegan restaurant called Veg Cafe in Elora, Ontario. We're on the West Coast. It'll be a bit of a drive over to Ontario, but I'm sure we're going to have to come check it out at some point. So it's great to hear some of the background too, just a passion for horses, which is where your journey in healthcare started. So we want to find out a little bit more about that. And basically, thank you so much for being on the show, Sherri. There's so much we're going to get into with regards to what is Queen of Thrones and what does that actually mean? Why are we talking about digestion and healthy bowel movements? Why don't we just jump in there and tell us how you got started into this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. That was a great intro. Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here with you both. So how I got into castor oil and castor oil packs myself, it was actually before school, and my hair was like falling out from stress and from raising my children and a not so great marriage and things like that. So it was all like stress related. And I kind of fell upon castor oil in my Dr. Google days, which led me to the oil. And I applied it to my scalp. And a few months later, I had noticed that falling out had stopped and new growth had started. And I thought, what is this magic potion? And then that led me to get into it a little bit more. And then, of course, I learned about it in school, in medical school, and the old kind of messy way. And that's how I fell into it.
It's amazing. I love hearing stories like this where we apply a relatively simple tool and then, create this ideal environment for the body to do what it's supposed to do, like grow hair and, thrive and turn over new cells and all that stuff. But to think that it's such a simple solution, and so many people are looking for the medications or, the therapies, maybe PRP injections or whatever it may be these days for regrowing hair. And it's just something so simple that you can just actually buy at a health food store. Obviously, we're going to talk about different qualities and things like that. But what did that do to you? Like that process of just applying this onto your scalp, did that create some confidence or belief in natural alternative therapies? I mean, you're in medical school already, as you said, but what did that do for you as far as a confidence or maybe a curiosity into this world of alternative health?
Oh, definitely a boost of confidence. There's nothing like, being in your 20s and worrying about losing your hair and going bald and, all those things that you think about when, pre professional education and things like that. So when I had noticed that my hair was, no longer falling out in clumps anymore, even though I was still in the same predicament, my environment hadn't changed. I didn't remove myself from the stresses or anything. Like, didn't get rid of my kids and, the husband and all that yet. So it definitely created a boost in my confidence. And when I started learning about it in school, it gave me that, I don't know if I'd call it a belief, but it drove me to want to learn about it even more. And I didn't think of it as some like woo-woo thing because I had actually experienced actual positive action from it personally, which was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we learned quite a bit about it during school too. And my story with castor oil is kind of similar to yours, but a little bit different. I was in a stressful environment and a lot going on, and for me, it was hormones that were really shifting. So I was stuck in this like estrogen dominant state, and my gut wasn't working well. And it was actually one of our good friends, Nicole, who was why don't you do the thing that you tell everybody else to do? Why don't you start doing some castor oil packs? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And as I started doing them, it changed my digestive system and, got me on the path of working on my hormones and helping me understand that connection between the liver and the gut and hormones and how all of that is so connected. And so that's why I want the listeners to understand that, this one tool, because it shifts so much in that digestive system and in that relationship with the liver, the impact it has is like vast. It's not just about the bowel movements then, it's about like how you're feeling about yourself. It's about how your monthly cycle is, whether it's healthy or not. So I'd love for you to get into like how it works, like why castor oil, what is it doing when it's on our skin, and like the mechanism behind that.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question because a lot of people do ask, like, how does it even get through my skin, or why does like putting oil on my skin even, help me liver detox? Isn't that what my liver is supposed to do anyways? But castor oil is a triglyceride of fatty acids. So it's almost 90% of it is a fatty acid content, which consists of ricinoleic acid. And sorry if you hear my dog snoring, she's on my lap. But so that ricinoleic acid has a molecular weight of, I believe it's 298 Daltons, and that's in dermatological medicine is where is what is called the 500 Dalton rule. So any substances that are below that can actually permeate through the lower layer of the epidermis, and which is the top layer of the skin. So then when it goes deeper into the dermis, this is where our circulatory and lymph vessels lie, which is so super important. And then because we really want that good flow of circulation to the liver, which is our detox and cleansing hub, and which are our super highways to the body. So this is where that transport of this medicine occurs, leading to these organs to help us detox, lymph drain, and colon cleanse. So yeah, and then there's the science of that is basically it's made up of three things. So it's not just the oil. The pack is very important. So it's 50% the oil and then 50% the pack. So first it's mechanical. It's that compression of the pack that is placed over the liver, right side. And a lot of people ask us, why do you always have it on your left side on social media? It's that mirrored image.
Yeah.
Always important
Exactly.
on the right side. And then when it's in combination with our breathing muscles, this serves like a pump, to our lymphatic system, encouraging that lymphatic drainage. And then secondly, it's that, neurological. It's neurological. So the first is mechanical, second one is neurological. And when the compress is placed on specific dermatomes, this activates the somatic visceral reflexes, triggering the activity of internal detox and cleansing organs. And then last, of course, it's that combination of both the mechanical and neurological, because the castor oil pack stimulates skin receptors. And this helps us get into that state of rest and digest, which is where we really truly heal, is in that state of that parasympathetic state.
What about the thermogenic component? Isn't that another aspect to this, or does this particular pack not involve a heat component as well?
Yeah, that's the great thing about this particular pack. The outer shell is made up of a non-toxic PUL material, and so this pack specifically utilizes the body's own heat, so you don't need to add heat to it, which is fantastic. So I personally can only wear my pack for short periods of time because I'm just one of those people where I overheat. But we do recommend people to wear the packs overnight while sleeping, because that's when our liver is detoxing and lymph draining, and we're going through all the colon cleansing and whatnot overnight, starting at 1 a.m. And so yeah, a lot of people do ask if they need to add the heat, but with this pack specifically, no, you don't need to add it, because we use our natural heat.
Body heat. I love that. There's so many different components. When people are thinking of mechanical, I mean, the compression that's just around the diaphragm, just inhaling, exhaling obviously creates a decent amount of pressure. And then you're creating this, I mean, it's tied onto the body. So there's a bit of a constrictive force just with the pack itself. And so I love that understanding of that mechanical component. I think that's really important. And then the nervous system, can you speak a little bit more to that? Because I think, maybe people don't recognize that there are these things called dermatomes, or these neuronal connections to the surface of the skin. Like, is it the oil that's creating that communication to the neurons? Or is it like in conjunction with that constrictive force? Or can you speak a little bit more to the nervous system?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is mostly the compression of the pack that does that, because it's where it's placed. It's on specific dermatomes that activates, like I said, the somatic visceral reflexes. But then again, it's also about the vagus nerve, and and also it's the when placed on specific dermatomes, it's it's acting to stimulate natural oxytocin feedback loop as well of the vagus nerve. So that helps with the nervous system. It brings the nervous system to a space or a place where we can rest and digest. So what's a great example? I just had it yesterday and I've just totally lost my example of a great nervous system story. Sorry.
Well, I'm thinking of a hug. A hug is a great.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a hug. Or another example would be like if you stub your toe, what's the first thing you do?
You touch
it. You grab it. You put pressure on it,
compress
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you bang anywhere on your body, right? We automatically just go to press it, to hold it, just like that hug. And you take your hand off for a minute of your stubbed toe and it hurts again, right? So, and then if you stop hugging, then that feeling is gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it ever too much? So I know you were saying that we recommend to do it overnight, and that's often a recommendation that we have as well. And sometimes we've noticed, depending on where the individual is in their toxicity story and how full their bucket is, it can almost like overstimulate some of those detox pathways, and then they get this like negative effect. Not negative in our eyes because things are starting to move, but just for that individual. So how can someone assess like how much is too much, or what they should start off with? Or is there like a protocol that you give everyone?
Yes, exactly. So if there's no real one fits all, because we are all, as you both know, we're all unique individuals. And And anytime a person or a patient is experiencing, say, detox symptoms or whatever, of course, they're the most uncomfortable things, possibly to them in that moment, not realizing that this is, a really good sign. But to lessen to lessen the heightency of the symptoms itself, we always ask our people to start off super duper slow, no matter where they are. Because like some people could be extremely clean, others can be full of like mold and toxicness. So we always recommend starting with an hour every day for a few days, just to kind of see how their body reacts to it, and then moving ahead to overnight, usually on the third night to do it overnight, just to see how they react.
Yeah. And what about when a woman is menstruating? Are you asking them to not have it on then? There's always been like the rule that we've been taught, but I'm curious if you guys have witnessed something different.
There is that it's been going around for so long not to apply the pack while we're menstruating, because the myth is that it will cause women to bleed more than we should. Whereas that myth has been busted. So women can actually wear the pack during menstruation. It doesn't make us bleed more. It just makes us actually bleed in the same amount, but less time. So our periods are like not as long actually. And the only time we don't really want to wear the pack on our period is when we're first trying it. So make sure you're applying the pack before, like say a month before you're applying the pack, like on your liver. And then you get your period, then you can apply it, because you don't want to like shock the system.
Yeah. So timing is really important. Just knowing your cycle and when to start. Can you speak to like the ricinoleic acid activity in the liver? Like, is it moving bile? I know there's saponins and there's polyphenols and there's vitamin E, there's antioxidants that are in there as well. Is there a bit of a biochemical landscape that's changing as a result of that, those fats going across into the liver?
That is a fantastic question, and one that Dr. Marisol, our CEO, would absolutely love to answer. But on my part, it's all about anti-inflammatory for me. It's regulating inflammation. That's the best way I can answer that question.
Okay, cool. Well, more stuff to ask on the next podcast we do, but
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because I think most people don't appreciate the fact that when things go on your skin, you've got this impenetrable barrier. Things just are automatically repelled. And you spoke to like the size, the 500 Daltons being a way to introduce things in the skin. But I think this is important to put things in context with regards to our environments. There's
Right.
things that are constantly passing into our bodies.
Mhm.
And so it's not a surprise that we bioaccumulate toxicity, just given the world that we live in. Maybe we've had, metal fillings or medications or other things that have been administered
Right.
into different various parts of our body that, we take for granted, or even like body creams, or, I think of even like Glade air fresheners, the things that are like, plugging in that we're inhaling. We're a reservoir of accumulation. And, so something like this can be just a great tool to help overcome some of that ongoing, exposure that we get on a regular basis.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it was, I read recently that the Environmental Working Group had said that we are actually exposed to over 200 toxins, like chemical toxins, before we even walk out our front doors in the morning. It's it's incredible how much the body is bombarded with every day. And like you said, like our toothpaste, if we wear perfume, and like even our sanitary napkins, our toilet paper, it's like everything, even like our shoes, we're walking around in plastic rubber shoes, and like this is all contributing to like bunging up these functions. And that's why that there's that question all the time of like, well, we have these organs and they're supposed to do what they're doing. Why do they need help? And it's like, well, under normal circumstances, when we were first created, we didn't have this bombardment of chemicals being thrown at us all day, every day. So that's why we need to support our organs.
Yeah. I mean, we often say this sometimes, that, having a mechanism for detoxification support may just be as important, if not more important than even our nutrition or exercise. Like, I really feel like this should be a part of our lifestyle practice, is to find a way to overcome that which we know is going into our body, but also that which we don't know, and that we have, got stuck in an accumulation process. I mean, Sonia, we were just talking about that today with regards to that philosophy of Ayurveda. Like the first process of dis-ease in the body it's all
toxicity.
It's all
right? So every dis-ease process that shows up in the body is because of this excess in the body. Is excess of toxicity, it's excess of consumptions, it's excess of everything. So if we can find ways to help support our body and our mind, so with this one you're getting both, with that vagal nerve stimulation, so you're relaxing the nervous system, so also allowing your mind and your emotions to detox at the same time. And in Chinese medicine, as we know, the liver holds on to a lot of anger and resentment. So if we can cool that area down or bring more circulation to that area, we're not just, targeting digestion, it's doing everything. And on that note too, so I know we've talked a lot about liver and the pack being over the right side and the liver. Are there other parts that you tell people to put the packs on? So for example, I will often tell patients to use it for their chest when they're, especially in like the season that's coming, the flu season, or when things show up in that area. And because of that increase in circulation, and what we were taught, that there's increase of white blood cells and these like monocytes that will show up with their vitamin C. Is that something that you guys also recommend, or are you mostly recommending the liver?
Yeah, no, for sure. So the liver is our hero, pack, because that's stemmed from Edgar Cayce, and then oodles of time prior to him. So that's just always the go-to, because that's the area, the hub, our cleansing organs. That's what needs the most support. But we do have other packs, like our pelvic pack, which is big enough to go over our chest, as well as over our back. So for things like congestion in cold and flu, or any kind of an immune bronchial kind of a thing happening in the chest, it's great for that. Cystic breasts, any kind of breast pain, any kind of chest pain, and then sciatic nerve pain for the back. And we also have a thyroid pack to help with nourishing the thyroid. You can have actual thyroid issues or not, but like you said, just supporting the thyroid is helpful in itself. And then we have an eye compress that is amazing. Oh, nice. Actually, by the way, I wear it like almost every night. I have fallen in love with it. And I think it's the best invention, only because there's all kinds of eye masks and everything out there, but this one specifically I love because of the color. It's the same color as the pack, which is like that light creamy color. So if you wear an eye mask, it's usually like black or dark purple. So in the morning when you take it off, you're like, you're lost. You don't know what time it is. It could be 6 a.m. It could be noon, and you just feel like, oh, like you came out of a cave. Whereas this particular compress, the natural light is actually allowed to go through the pack. So your cortisol is naturally, being boosted in the morning with that light. And when you wake up, take your eye compress off, you don't feel that grogginess. It's just, you feel good, which I love. So
I love that.
And then does it also help your eyelashes? Because there's a lot of talk on TikTok around castor oil and eyelash growth. So maybe you can bust that myth, or you can support it. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, you put on your eyelashes, your eyebrows. And the cool thing about the eye compress is it keeps the oil on your face rather than on your pillow or everywhere else, which is kind of cool. And then also, like, it's great. The oil itself is great for styes and for eye allergies in the various seasons that we have. I like to sometimes just put a little dab on the end of my finger and just kind of like touch my eye, just to give it that I don't know, that extra boost of anti-inflammatory, because I don't wear glasses, knock on wood, yet, so I'm going to keep it that way as long as I can. But yeah, and then also the beautifying effects of the oil itself is just incredible. I had like super deep 11 lines, like you can still see them, but they were really deep from like
right. Talk to the kids. Come on.
Yes,
clean up your room.
So, but I would say after 3 days of applying the oil, like a huge difference. Even my boys said that they saw a difference. Like, okay, that's amazing. So yeah, that great beautifying qualities from the oil itself.
Oh, that's cool. I love hearing that. I mean, it's something that people literally can have in their supplement cabinet or wherever it may be, and they could be using it topically in various different areas of the body. Historically, it was also used internally. Do you want to speak to any internal use for castor oil?
Yes, like it was more used, not so much now, but some time ago, and it was used for like inducing labor for women who were thought of as being overdue, and it's used in constipation as well. Mm-hmm. So we do advise not to actually use the castor oil pack practice while pregnant, only because when you do take the oil orally, it can cause uterine contractions. So midwives do use the oil sometimes. So if anybody is wanting to do it, you should do it definitely under the guidance of your professional. But yeah, so it's great for constipation, but when you do take it, you're definitely going to go.
Mm-hmm. So Nick's all about enemas. Can you use it in enemas?
Yeah, actually, I don't do enemas myself, but Dr. Marisol does, and she uses it all the time. So she puts it on the tube and then does that. So I don't know if you can actually use it in the enema.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so Dr. Marisol does it with coffee, but yeah.
Because I feel like just some of the apparatus might get a little
clogged
up if you use oil internally. But that's a great idea to actually use it as again, we're getting graphic here, but the lubricating the insert part. I think that's a great idea. Yeah,
I think so too. Why not?
Very cool. Yeah, there's a whole new idea. Thank you for that question.
You're welcome.
So let's talk about just other applications. Like, we have recommended for people who have experienced some swelling. Let's say there's some like knee pain or joint pain, or have you guys talked about applications in some of these areas just to help remove some of that swelling? Because obviously it's communicating to the lymphatics as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of physical therapists use castor oil pack and castor oil practice, especially in athletes and in injuries and whatnot. I actually have a very close friend of mine who she is a firefighter, and she really banged up her knee. So the physiotherapist uses that practice on her knee, and she got better quite a lot sooner than we thought. The only thing is some of these physical therapists use the old method, which is awesome, but they also include the plastic wrap, which is not so awesome because castor oil is a carrier oil. So anything that it is contained in or on is actually going to pull from it. And then if you're putting it on your body, then it's going to absorb into your body. So we don't want that. So there's that. And then there's also, I have a personal story with a patient who was suffering from a ganglion cyst. And it was it was about 3 millimeters, I would say, on his wrist. So he was gradually losing movement in his wrist. So I applied some Lugol's iodine with the castor oil. And again, number three, in 3 days, he came back to me and said, it's gone. And he had been dealing with it for over 3 years. And I'm like, it's not gone. Come in and see me. And it was gone. It was
That's
incredible. Yes.
Why did you choose iodine?
I find that, and then of course, in science itself, there's iodine deficiency in cysts, in ovarian cysts and breast cyst, any kind of cyst. So I just thought, I'm going to try it on this one. I had been trying everything, and he was even banging on it with a book, totally old school. And I'm thinking, oh no,
way more gentle this way. Isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's amazing. I love those stories. I mean, whether or not it's going to work for everybody, it's something that people can try because, if you had the choice between this really gentle, topical application or, grabbing the heaviest textbook in your house and banging your arm until it's numb. I mean, it's like, why not at least try the castor oil pack first?
Yeah, exactly.
No harm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I know we've been talking a lot about the product itself. I would love to just get to know your story just a little bit more beyond the product, because, we kind of get stuck on this how to often. And I think as practitioners, there's always like a deeper why to why we gravitate towards like one method over another. And I know you kind of talked about the hair and how that supported you, but what do you see, like, what's your big why with castor oil, and what do you see for people, and what do you hope for people in regards to using or utilizing this method?
Oh, that's a great question. It's the same reason I got into homeopathic medicine, which is the medicine in itself, just like the castor oil itself, it doesn't cause your body. It doesn't make your body do anything it's not supposed to do. And I just love that. I am so natural based. I am so rooted in like natural medicine. I like my whole family, my mother, my father, my brothers, my sisters, my children, they don't take anything, like no medicines. They're all, if like MSM, if you have inflammation, or, castor oil, if you have, like that sort of a thing, or here's a homeopathic medicine, because, and melatonin, especially, I kind of advise against it only like for certain people, just because it's like, it's removing your body's ability to create it. And then when you remove it, it's like, then your body's like, like now what do I do? Right. So I don't love that. So that's kind of why I got into this, and I resonate with it because it helps the body. It helps regulate what it's already doing. Just do it even better. So like a lot of my patients, before I had learned about castor oil, it was like, well, here's this supplement, and here's this, and try this diet, and remove this, and go exercise, and la 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 la. And they're doing everything, perfectly, but they're just not liver detoxing and lymph draining and all that properly. So the moment you put that castor oil pack on, it's like, it's like that foundation. And then the body just kind of like shifts and goes, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it remembers, because that's where we're supposed to be. Our bodies are supposed to know what to do. It's just this crazy, modern technological world that has made us forget. So yeah, I hope I answered the question.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it makes me think of some of these, very simple therapies. Like we teach a lot in fasting, just kind of getting out of the way and letting the body do what it knows how to do, And so when people can start to put these, very basic, very supportive healing strategies into a lifestyle plan, I mean, talk about prevention, talk about, different ways to really enable a healing process within the body to get more out of this physical vehicle. Because if we're walking around our lives and just kind of dealing with, symptom lists from A to Z, it's a whole lot of extra stress that we don't need to deal with. And if we're just more proactive, start implementing things that support elimination more effectively, more regularly, we can awaken to a whole new relationship to the body that we have. And then like that. To your point, you can share that with your family, and that becomes something that you share with your friends. Like it says, this is way I feel we take back our healthcare is by being our own doctor, our own physician, our own, lifestyle practitioner. And this is definitely one of those tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, being parents too, it's the seeds that we plant for them, because they're witnessing then, or what is my parent doing every single day? What are the different habits? They may not do them right away, but they're witnessing, and they are going to mimic that at some point. Like our kids see us doing the saunas, they see us fasting, they see us working out in the morning, moving our lymphatic system and using the tools that we have. So they may not understand it completely, but they're starting to notice that, okay, yeah, my parents, they don't go to the hospital. They take these things instead of these things. Our youngest son, he sprained his ankle. So I've been like taping it and doing all these other things. So they're starting to like understand that we don't have to be so reactive when it comes to our bodies. Like we have to do these other elements. I mean, they're not perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's not perfect. It's perfect practice. But I was thinking maybe for him, we should be putting castor oil.
Yeah, we haven't been putting castor oil on it. We forgot. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we were using castor oil. Our older son, sometimes he gets lung congestion. So we're using that as a carrier with some other, like I think we had thyme or we put some rosemary oil and some other things in there. So yeah, it's
nice.
Yeah, so it's been fun to sort of play with some of these things.
Amazing.
I love the direction that Sonia went with the question, just to bring it back to the individual, because often people do really want to know, the why and the story, and I think it's such a powerful one, especially because you're influencing your entire family, and you've had this experience just obviously with your hair and whatnot. What are some of the ways that you feel like are entry points for people when they're starting to engage in this sort of alternative lifestyle, or I mean, really comes down to a personal experience, but what do you feel like becomes maybe a block for people, or why they are resistant to see what else is possible for them?
I think it's overwhelm. So like we don't, and people don't love change, like bodies. We just don't inherently love change. We love the same, so I find that with my patients, when I first started in my practice, I developed these health management plans that were like 3 pages long. It's like, here you go home and do all this stuff.
Good luck.
And then you come back in 6 weeks and it's like, they were just overwhelmed. Like I meant well and it was all great, but it's just start with the foundation, that base, just that with that one thing. And just, find your place doing that, and then move from there. So yeah, that the blocks are also time. So like, because everybody is so busy, we are all so busy. Every moment is scheduled for us, most of us anyways, from the moment we're up until the moment we're sleeping, and then sometimes in between. And I think that with the castor oil pack practice, it literally takes 60 seconds, if not less. You have to pour the oil on the pack, put the pack on the body, and you're done. And you can walk around if you want. You can sit there, read a book, do your work. You can, mow the lawn if you need to, whatever you need to do. It's best though when you're sleeping. But there is really no excuse for people. So definitely overwhelm and time, and this practice, it doesn't do either of them. If not, it does the opposite. As soon as you put that pack on, like you said before, it feels like that gentle, warm hug, and you're just like, who doesn't love that? You can feel your shoulders drop, and it's like, oh wow, okay, I can do this now, right? So yeah.
And it's setting people up for success, because often in that overwhelm, if we try to do it all, then we don't complete something, and then we get into that vicious cycle with our mind and thoughts of like, I'm not enough, I'm not doing it, so I'm not going to do it at all. It almost feels easier. But if you give them that one thing that's easy to do, and we often talk about habit stacking, so sleeping, castor oil pack, I mean, that doesn't get easy. It doesn't get easier than that for habit stacking, right? Yeah, you just have it by your bedside. So I think, and then you get that feeling in the morning of like, oh yeah, I just did something for myself. And then that creates that new routine of like self-care and more awareness that these little things that I do are going to make a big difference in my overall life.
What about saunas? Have you seen people use the castor oil pack while in the sauna? Because there's
they do use them, and yeah, they're used. A lot of practitioners use them. A lot of, people use them in the saunas, and they're safe to use. They're going to make the pack wear a lot quicker. So they're going to become saturated with sweat. So you're going to have to replace it probably every month rather than 2 to 3 months. So that's the only, I think, downfall, but they're totally safe to use for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I have a question just about the quality of the castor oil, because, you know, you can go anywhere, well, not anywhere, but you can go to like say a drugstore, to healthy grocery store or whatever. You know, what are you typically recommending? Obviously, you guys have an option on your website. What are you looking for when it comes to castor oil?
Ooh, that's a great question. It must be in glass. No matter what, it must be in glass. And even better if it's in an amber colored glass. And the oil itself should be hexane free, chemical free, organic, extra virgin, and cold pressed. So that's top quality. You're going to get the best. You should be putting the best on your skin. Again, glass is important because if it's in plastic, it's sadly trash, like seriously trash. There's a lot of people out there that are using castor oil bottled in plastic, and unfortunately it's doing the reverse of what you want it to do, sadly. So I've had to tell many people to put their brand new bottles, you know, in the garbage, because you can't even use it on anything really. So yeah, that's the most important, and here's ours right there.
Yeah, organic, of course, too. I think
you
said
yeah.
that, but yeah. And a lot of the extractions with oils are done through chemicals. So you said hexane. Is the differentiating point when it says cold pressed? Does that literally mean hexane free, or how do you know that it's hexane free?
The only way is to either go to the processing plant itself, or it is on the label. It'll say hexane free.
Perfect.
Ours say hexane free. And then cold pressed and extra virgin, you want that first pour off of it. So it's not, you know, like continuous. It's the most beautiful. So it's always on the label from what I've seen. Like there are other brands out there that are, you know, very, very similar, and have all of the credentials and all of the certifications and all that on the bottles themselves. If it doesn't say it, then I'm going to have to say it probably isn't, right? If it doesn't say hexane free, it's probably not hexane free.
Yeah, that's such an important distinction, because obviously, you know, this is going on your body. You mentioned how it gets into your body, especially with that carrier. If it's plastic, you're pulling a whole lot of who knows, like BPA or whatever across into the skin. So that's really important. Another thing that we had a chance to chat with a guy from a company called Andreas Seed Oils, and he talked about pressing versus expeller pressed. And he said the problem with a lot of the oils is their expeller press, which is essentially a grind, versus a true like push press. And I'm not sure if you can speak to that, but I know a lot of the cheaper oils tend to be more like this ground up process, which is going to create more oxidative damage on those oils and whatnot. And I think it's important for people to appreciate, like, this is literally, well, essentially a medicine, a fat that's going into your body. You don't want oxidation. You want the purest form of it. And if you want a powerful outcome, obviously you have to use a proper oil. So I just want to reiterate that.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like with anything. Like I always teach my people and my patients that even if it's just like a simple thing like brushing your teeth, that's not actually a simple thing. What you're using in your mouth, which is where we actually absorb so like tremendously, and people just, you know, they'll put anything in there. I don't want to name any brands or anything, but it's like, no, please don't put that in your mouth. And it's so important. Whatever we put in and on our body is going to reflect how we feel, and our organs, how they're going to treat us in the future, and our skin and our hair, and all the things. So if we can keep as healthy as possible living on this toxic earth, then we want to put only the best in and on our body.
Yeah. So if there was one thing that you want people to take away from this podcast, or just for you as an individual, if you knew that tomorrow was your last day on this toxic earth, what imprint?
It's a beautiful
earth. It is. Yes.
Sure is.
Mother Earth is beautiful. What is the imprint that you would like to leave behind?
That's a good question. I think just to be open and honest with yourself, because and to live by example and from your word. I am a person who, what I say is how it is. Like I don't have Oreos in my fridge and say, no, don't eat that. Like I live by my word, I live by example. So I think that my imprint would be for people to do that as well, because you feel really, really good about it, and you don't have to hide anything. So yeah, just to be real.
Thank you.
Congruency. Yeah. I mean, as professionals, as educators, as doctors, and working with patients, I mean, how can we ever truly come across as any sort of truth telling or a place of experience if we're not doing it on our own?
Exactly.
I mean, I find that so often. I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of people out there recommending different things, and I think it comes across in the tone, and how they speak, and even from a salesy point of view, or from a place of really knowing. And I mean, you shine that, you really do, and everything you shared, it's been of joy and excitement of like how you're applying it and what you're noticing. Like that's authenticity, and it's really important that, you know, especially when people are working one-on-one with someone, that they really feel like these people in front of us are walking their walk. So,
right.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it reduces the overwhelm.
Right,
that we were talking about,
exactly.
Because there's so much out there. But if you can witness somebody doing the thing, we call it like live it to lead it, like they're actually doing it all, then it can release the overwhelm.
Yeah, sure can. Yeah.
So tell us, where do people access this? It's called Queen of Thrones. If you could let us know a little bit more about the website, how to navigate it. And, you know, you mentioned the different size packs, like the thyroid, the pelvic one, but please walk us through, and we'll put it in our show notes, of course, too, but please walk us through.
Sure. Yeah. So the best way to find all of our good stuff is on the website, queenofthethrones.com. And on there, you can be led to our shop, which will lead you to all of our products, and each and every product you click on will have a fantastic description. It'll tell you what it's good for, where to put it, the size of everything, what's in certain kits, etc. There's also a place where you can read our blogs, which will lead you to even more information. So many health professionals have written for us, and I've written, and we have affiliates who have written. So they're all from some really great sources with great information. And then, of course, we're online or on socials, on Instagram, Queen of the Thrones on Instagram, very, very active there. We're always posting videos, trying to teach and guide and answering any questions. Our lovely Ashley is always there answering any questions, so DMing or commenting. So yeah, those are the two fantastic ways, or email us.
Thank you.
You know what, one of the sections of the website I really appreciate was the FAQ, because I think when it's a new experience for people, that obviously there's so many questions. So I just also want to direct people, make sure you go to the FAQ section. I loved one of the comments on there. It was that, you know, you wouldn't share your underwear with someone, so why would you share your castor oil pack? I think it's so true. It's like, you know, there's stuff coming out of us, you know, right? Like Sonia would absolutely never let me share a castor oil pack, and it wouldn't make sense. Just like I would look silly in her underwear.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah. But it's information like that that's really important. You talk about even just the frequency to change it. You mentioned, you know, someone's using it in a sauna. I mean, there's so much good information in there. So I just want to also bring that to people's attention. Make sure you read the FAQ.
Yeah, it's great because we try to answer the question in the mind before they need to ask. So yeah, any questions that, you know, are there, most of them anyways. Yeah.
That's awesome. Sherri, thank you so much for such a wealth of information. Obviously there's so much more to you. I mean, you're a homeopathic doctor as well. Are you still practicing? Are you still like, what's happening in your sort of personal professional world outside of castor oil?
Yeah, so I'm still practicing, just not as much as I used to, because, you know, the current events of the world kind of helped put that to a halt. Right. And I lost my actual physical business building and my offices and everything. And so at the time it was sad, but it's not, because I'm here now doing this, and I'm seeing patients the way I'm seeing you right now, which is awesome. And I get to treat people in an entirely different way I never thought I would before. So yeah, I'm still developing those health management plans for my patient, just in a different way, and feeding people. I have an enormous list of customers who I meal prep for, and you know, I feed the community And then of course there's the horses and family that keep me every day busy.
Love that. So people do want to reach out to you and they want to work with you. Do you still work with people one-on-one through your homeopathic consults and nutrition?
Yes, I certainly do. Yeah. So I do a lot of acute right now. It kind of moved to that. So I also have a degree in psychology as well. So my physical practice was really psychology based. Oh my goodness. And so it's kind of moved now to acute practice, kind of like one-on-one online. And I am working on some things in future for moving from, instead of one-on-one, to groups to like 3-in-1 for getting back into the psychology of it all to try and help, because people do like we're all separated so much now as opposed to before. Yeah. So people, I got to give people what they're asking for, and they're asking for more togetherness. Yeah, so that's coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, and just one last question on the
sure.
on the cafe.
Oh, my cafe, yes.
Yeah. Is that still going? Despite
it is, but it's again, I lost my physical location, so I'm looking for a new location. But in the meantime, I am cooking for people. So I have this menu that goes out every week, and customers pick and choose, and they just shoot me a little text, and then we all prep it and actually deliver it to them. And it's great. I love it because I started it. I wanted to show my patients in the beginning that changing your eating habits aren't that hard. And so I'm like, fine, I'm going to open up a restaurant and show you. And I chose simple ingredients, and I create everything. Like, there's nothing fake. There's no chemicals. Like, what you see on the menu is what you're going to eat, and it tastes amazing. And that's why it did so well. And it was 100% vegan. But at first people were like, that's weird. But then most of my clients were non-vegans, and then just absolutely loved it. So it was more about, food. I'm just eating food, and it's healthy, and I feel good when I leave. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Giving them that variety too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, thank you for your time. This was so good.
You're very welcome. Thank you for yours.
Yeah.
This has been awesome.
Well, we'll have to stay in touch, and obviously you're fellow Canadian too. You're just on the other side of the country than us, and so obviously we'll stay connected. And we appreciate
awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.